Good afternoon. Welcome to the County of Santa Clara's virtual career event live speaker series. My name is Lil Cottrell, and I'm a recruiter with the County of Santa Clara's Employee Services Agency Human Resources Department. And I'm so excited to be here today to share with you a wonderful hidden gem that the County of Santa Clara has, our Social Services Agency. Social Services Agency plays such a vital role in our county as it provides essential services and resources to our community. And today we are going to learn about the department and their career opportunities. We will hear from guest speakers who will introduce themselves, talk about their department, and answer any questions you may have. So please feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A chat. This event will be recorded so you can go back and watch it again on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, before I want to introduce our guest speakers, my colleague Ben will be sharing a slide on the screen. On the slide, you will see a QR code that you can scan and a bit.ly code that you can copy and paste into your web browser. Both of these will take you to the Social Service Agency's quick page, where you will find information on their current job openings. You can sign up for email alerts. You can get information about employment benefits and so much more. So we highly encourage you to check it out. And you may also want to save the QR code and the bit.ly link so you can go back and refer to it at any time. Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing the slide. So I see more and more people are joining us. Okay, welcome, and let's get started. We are honored to have the following special guest speakers join us today. Daniel Little, Director of Family and Children's Services, Temera Carson, Social Services Program Manager, and Elsie Marenco, Social Work Supervisor. Daniel, thank you so much to you and your team for joining us today. It's a pleasure. Would you please introduce yourself and your team?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lil, for this opportunity. Very happy to be here again. My name's Dan Little. I'm the Director of the Department of Family and Children's Services. And then with me is, I'll let Temera Carson introduce.
Hi, good morning, everybody, or I guess good afternoon at this point. My name is Temera Carson. I'm a Social Services Program Manager with the Department of Family and Children's Services as well. I'll pass it to Elsie.
Good afternoon. My name is Elsie Marenco, and I am a Social Work Supervisor at the Department of Family and Children's Services.
And if I can talk a little bit about kind of what got us here, if that's okay. I've been with the county for about 5 years. I spent the early part of my career in nonprofit child welfare. I have an undergraduate degree in anthropology and a master's in social work, and very excited about the work that's happening within the Department of Family and Children's Services here and the work that we're doing with children and families. And pass it on to Temera for a little bit of background.
Yeah, sure. Hi. So I have been with the department for 20 years, and I have actually had the opportunity to really do almost every like child welfare core position in the department, which is pretty exciting, from answering hotline calls to going out and supporting families when referrals come in, all the way through supporting families who have adopted through our county. And I've done recruitment of foster parents. So I've kind of done the gamut, and now I'm currently a program manager over our placement units, which are social workers who really support our case carrying social workers around placement of children who can't safely be with their families at that time. So they really are working very closely with our resource parents or our foster parents to provide that care to our youth. I also have our family finding unit, which Elsie is the supervisor over. And then I also have our placement, our permanency planning unit, who really support kind of the permanency adoption work that happens throughout the department. Take it away, Elsie.
Thank you. So I have been with the county about 14 years. And 1 year not counting that one, but 1 year of internship. I was in the MSW program at San Jose State, and I did a year of internship with continuing court services. That's what it was called back then. Then I came on and got hired doing social work in dependency, wellness, drug treatment court, which was doing case management and working with families and court services on family reunification and family maintenance at the same time as they were, a lot of the parents were working on their recovery. So we had to go to court for their court hearings, and then at the same time going to court for their drug treatment hearings. I did that for about 5 years. Then from there, I went on to do 5 years doing voluntary family services and informal supervision services, working with Spanish-speaking families at the resource center, just making sure that we were working with families that were at lower risk and who could still have their children under their care, but just needed to be referred to classes and services. And a lot of them were community-based agencies as well that we were connecting families to. Then from there, I went on and transferred over, I got promoted. And so I went back to court services, which is now safety and well-being. And I actually became the supervisor for the unit that I interned in. So I went back to that unit and became supervisor there, and did that, been doing that for about a couple, like maybe 2 years. Then from there, I transferred over to doing family finding under Temera, and we're doing family finding and also another program under IPS, which is intensive permanency services, helping and engaging youth with connecting back with their families. On top of that, I also facilitate the parent orientation class in Spanish in the evenings for parents that are being introduced into our system. So.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for all of your introductions. And it's great to hear all the experience that you have. So we've been receiving a lot of questions from our viewers. And one of the questions, which is actually for the entire panel, but maybe Daniel, you can start off with this one. So a lot of our viewers would like to know what the culture is like in the department. If maybe there's a vision or a mission, and also maybe for some, anything else that you would like to add about why it's great to work for the department, if you can please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lil. Yeah, and actually, maybe I'll start a little bit with background of kind of what our department does. I think Temera and Elsie kind of outlaid some of the programs that they've worked in. And you're right, we have a tremendous amount of experience, both on the panel here. I think just within our workforce as a whole, we have a lot of people that have been with the department for a number of years. So DFCS, kind of our main purpose, we're the county's child welfare agency. So children that have potentially been the victims of abuse or neglect, DFCS conducts those investigations, accepts calls into our hotline, and then potentially works with families in kind of a traditional kind of ongoing case management case. You'll hear oftentimes safety, permanency, and well-being kind of the main mandates that we have to adhere to. If I was to, though, provide kind of our guiding principles, kind of what guides the work that we do, it's kind of 4 things. It's an understanding that children do best with their families. It's an agreement that family engagement is non-negotiable. A belief that families have the tools to solve their own problems if given the opportunity. And understanding that we're not going to see safety without healing occurring in families. And the reason why I share that is, I think in order for us to be successful as a department, all of our staff at all levels, regardless of title or position, we really buy into those guiding principles. Other exciting thing is we've really been expanding our prevention services. So while CPS or child welfare kind of traditionally has been associated with foster care, our county has dedicated a lot of resources to expanding kind of the prevention work. So I think that we've really been catalyst in the overall county prevention continuum. So very exciting about the work that's happening on that prevention piece. I think one of the nice opportunities with DFCS, which is part of the social service agency, is just the varied departments within DFCS. And I think you've heard Temera and Elsie share some of their experiences. So, there's everything from being a hotline screener, so taking those calls of abuse and neglect, conducting abuse and neglect investigations, so being out in the field and working with families, kind of that traditional case management social work. We have the work with our foster families, so recruitment, licensing, supporting foster families. We have work with our older youth. Then we have more administrative. We have, a continuous quality improvement and data analysis and policy folks and like I said, prevention. So there's just a gamut of experiences I think make DFCS, for me, a very exciting agency to work with really a lot of opportunities that can meet a lot of different needs. We have offices in downtown San Jose. We have our Family Resource Center that Elsie mentioned that's in the east side, San Jose, and then we have offices down in the South County. So we're kind of geographically spread out to make sure we're within the communities that we're serving. And again, just that connection to family, the engagement with families, and the relationships that we build, I think really make it an exciting place to work.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Temera, do you have anything you'd like to add to that? So, for example, maybe what the culture is like where you are. Why would somebody want to come work for your department in the county of Santa Clara versus some other agency? Because I know that some of our viewers, maybe they're just starting an interest in social services and they're just embarking on a new career now. Or maybe there may be some viewers who are already working in social services for another agency. And, why would they want to leave their agency to come to ours?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And I think just kind of piggybacking on Daniel, I think we're a learning organization. I think we're constantly wanting to improve the work that we do with families, improving our services. We want to provide the best, right? We're all here for a reason, to really support children and families. And so I think we hold ourselves to a high standard, and we're really always constantly working to do that. And within the working environment, there's a lot of support among colleagues. I think peers find their support groups within their other peers. And we do a lot of just, helping each other through some of the tough decisions and tough work that needs to be done. But I think there's also so many opportunities. I mean, one of the reasons I really was driven to come to the county was the different opportunities. And I kind of talked about all the different positions I had. And I was able to really learn the child welfare system. I didn't have to just stay in the position I was hired into. There's promotional opportunities. There's lots of different, family support bureau is really big. There's lots of different supportive services that we do. There's administration. So if you find kind of your niche or you find the direction, there's always kind of different opportunities to be able to do within DFCS. And I think also, I know I personally am involved in a lot of different work groups and steering committees and things like that. So you have the opportunity to really build skills, build your experience, be part of the solutions, be part of the improvements that are happening. And those include, not just social work positions, right? But office specialists who really help us move our work forward, right? We couldn't do this job without them. So I think even with them, like including them, we're becoming really inclusive of our whole workforce, which I think has been a really strong plus for Santa Clara County. I will say job security is huge, great benefits. And I know someone will talk about hopefully the benefits and, adding into your retirement. And even though that's personal, it does give me comfort knowing like I'm working towards something and then I'm able to kind of do my best at my job, but it also helps me with my family and security. Yeah, so those are the things that I think I really pull out of kind of the culture and kind of what makes Santa Clara special and why I've stayed for 20 years.
Well, that is a great testament to especially for, like you said, how long you've been with the county. And you made some really excellent points about the stability and benefits, which I can go over later. Elsie, if you'd like to add anything to that, you're more than welcome.
I think that we're also an organization that wants to also promote self-care to their staff. I definitely feel that my experience with the county and the supervisors that I have had have always been very supportive around just the work, supportive about, hey, if I need to take care of myself, I think that that's something that's a theme that is constantly being promoted within the county, right? To take care of ourselves. We have to go out and do some hard work, right? Working with families that are going through our system, it sometimes can take a toll on you. And I think that a lot of our supervisors and our managers are constantly just being supportive about making sure that we're taking care of ourselves if we're going out there and trying to take care of or support families that are in need. So definitely that's been one of the reasons why I have stayed. I've had really supportive supervisors and managers, and that have helped me transition through my career in child welfare. And yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's been a wonderful experience for me so far.
Thank you, Elsie. And, that is really good about just the whole support. Because I've worked at other organizations where I don't feel that support, especially in these times. I think it's really, it's just really great to work for an organization that does care so much about its employees. Oh, I see another question coming in, and maybe this one, Daniel, you may be able to address. And through my experience also of speaking with candidates, this is a very popular question that I get. It's about what kind of jobs can telework?
Yeah, absolutely. The vast majority of the positions within DFCS, and I think we have close to 800 positions, are able to do some type of telework. I think we recognize that there's a connection to kind of employee well-being and that flexibility. There are some positions, though, that do require more on-site presence. So, one of our programs that we have, we operate several kind of shelter kind of models for youth, and that requires DFCS staff to be on site. So we can't get away from that. But the majority of positions, we do have some ability to be flexible, and we really encourage that. We really look at how can we meet the needs of each program, while also still providing that flexibility to staff. The balance is that we do want to also create an environment where our teams can create that cohesion and build relationships. So, when we have individuals on site, we really want to encourage them to be doing things to help build that relationship and encouraging kind of building trust and support. I think you've heard both Temera and Elsie say that one of the things I think that makes DFCS a really amazing place to work are those relationships among our staff. It's the relationships, it's the knowledge we have from staff that have been here for a really long time. And I think it's also the newer staff coming in that are bringing really new and exciting ideas to the department that are keeping us moving forward.
Great, thank you so much, Daniel. Let me take a look here. So also a lot of our viewers, they're very interested in the social worker positions. So maybe Elsie, I don't know if you are able to maybe explain the main differences between like a social worker 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. So social worker 1's, that position is more of I would say, a supportive position for the social workers 2s and 3s. They provide different types of support. One of the things that they do is they transport youth. They assist with direct care and supervision of children and youth. They can assist with providing support within our sort of shelter that we have. They participate in meetings as well if needed. They are more needed on site. And they work a little bit more hands-on, right? I know that they require about 60 semester college units, and then 2 years of experience of working within the county, or a bachelor's degree in social work or behavioral science, and a year of experience working with children, youth, and adult populations. That's kind of basically the one. Social workers twos, they require master's degrees. And on top of that, they have to have experience, about 2 years experience, preferably with the county. And also bachelor's degrees in psychology, social science. I'm not sure it's either or, right? Temera, do you know about that? The time that they have to be within the county, if it's 2 years of work experience. I'm not sure. And then a social worker 3, it requires a master's degree, and 2 years of social work experience. If they've done an internship with the MSW Title IV-E, that year of your internship will count towards your work experience as well.
Okay, great. And actually, some follow-up questions to that would be, so what are the most important skills needed in a candidate to thrive in this role?
You want me? I can maybe start.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think there's the ability to, engage with children and families. But there's also a deep evaluation and some clinical component of just understanding human behavior that's central to a lot of the work that we do. There's a heavy need for time management. Many of the positions have a writing component. So some of the positions are working with families are going to be drafting reports that go to the courts. Some of our policy folks are writing legislative files that are going to the Board of Supervisors. So there's it really is a kind of a very broad kind of generalist background. I think makes a good staff within DFCS. Again, going back to the positives, there's a lot of opportunity though to kind of build upon a specific skill set that I think you can expand and really specialize with a large department. So, but again, I think the ability to engage with families, I think the ability to have a cultural humility, that writing skill, and then kind of time management are some of the ones that come to mind. But definitely, Temera and Elsie are much closer to the work than I am, so I'll turn it over to them too.
I would say an understanding also of family systems, an understanding of the different socioeconomic backgrounds that families come from, right? An understanding of also that you might walk into one situation one day and the next day it's another situation, right? Just having the ability to be able to be prepared for the unknown, right? And just an understanding of different behaviors, different living environments, different cultures, being well-rounded in all of that is definitely needed for this field.
Great, thank you. Temera, would you like to add on to that?
I was going to say they did a great job. I think people just have to understand that when you talk about child welfare, it's a very high stress environment. You have to be able to pivot and kind of go with what's happening. So that's, someone coming in needs to really kind of do that self-check of, can I really thrive in an environment like that? Not everybody can, but, there's a lot of support and there's a lot of people to kind of help you learn how to do that, and just looking at, our own staff and well-being. I think trauma and grief and loss is also another thing to really pay attention to, right? Because a lot of our staff, a lot of our families, a lot of our kids, have some component of that. So having a good understanding of trauma-informed services and trauma responses, that kind of thing, are also going to be really important.
Thank you. So how about maybe if somebody could speak to maybe what the day-to-day would look like for a social worker?
I'll speak on that. Which social worker would you like, the 1, 2, or the 3?
I think probably if you can, each step, because I think a lot of our viewers may be at different points in their career, so that might be good.
So I'm gonna kind of briefly share. So a 1, I would say, there's never, or there's not going to be. It's not like you're going to an 8 to 5 job where every day is going to be the same thing, right? So like a social worker 1 might come in and there might be transports all day, right? There might be transports that are in county or out of county, right? So your day is going to be consumed on transporting youth, making sure that your car seats are in, making sure that your car has gas. Of course, we have a department who supports with all that, fleet services. Then you might have, your morning might be like that. And then your afternoon might be inputting your case notes, right, of what happened during those transports. Maybe the next day might be supervised visits. And you're going to be in the office all day supervising a visit in one of our supervised locations. And then maybe the afternoon, you're going to be doing transport. So it might, something like that. A social worker too. Well, depending, right? You might have a day of all home visits all day. You might have a morning that you're doing home visits. You might be having your court hearings in the mornings. You might have home visits in the afternoon. You might have children and family team meetings, a CFT meeting that you need to attend to. On top of that, then your client shows up, right? And they need their bus pass. So you got to stop what you're doing and you might be able to meet with them and give them their bus pass. So it's never going to, you can plan out your day for the most part, right? But it's being ready to jump into many different activities, I would say, right? And a 3, same thing, right? Very similar. You might have to go to court. You might have to, maybe you're going to spend the day in the office typing up your court report. Maybe you're going to attend some meetings at school. You might want to do a home visit. You might want to visit your youth at school. Then you might want to do an unannounced visit and maybe visit the family in the home on your way home. So it's a multiple, it's gonna vary. Which I think, I mean, for me, when I case carried, it worked really well because I was able to, you're never, it's not repetitious, right? You're doing new things, even though it's kind of doing the same, but then in a way it's not, because you're doing it with so many different families. So kind of in a nutshell, that's a little bit about the social worker 1, 2s, and 3s.
Thank you so much, Elsie. That's really great information, very interesting. And it sounds like somebody who would fit nicely into this role would be somebody who could also pivot well, because there could be so many changes that go on.
Yeah.
And so staying with the social worker, just maybe Temera, you can answer this question, because I have gotten this question also a lot too when I've spoken with potential candidates. Their question is, are clinical supervision hours offered when pursuing licensure?
Yeah, so DFCS does have a LCSW clinical supervision program. It's been around since 2005, and it's one of those programs that we really like our staff to apply for. It's not that you have to apply for it, but there's often a waiting list because we have a lot of staff that have gotten their MSWs and then want to pursue licensure. And we really, there's both group and individuals. You kind of start with a group and do the number of hours that you can do under that group part of your LCSW, and then there's an individual component. So not only is it that our staff can work on their hours, gain a lot of experience and that clinical experience, which is really helpful in their work with families. It also adds that professional development. But we also have staff who are LCSWs and they've obtained their license, who also get the experience of being able to supervise hours for their peers. And so they get compensated for that, but they also, develop their skills around supervision and providing that clinical background. So it is offered. And once you have your MSW, there's some criteria, but if you were to come to the department, there's a specific person that can kind of walk you through that process and talk about how long, the wait would be to get into the group, which is essentially what it is.
Great, thank you. That was very informative. So, okay, here's another question. So maybe either Daniel or Temera may be able to answer this one. So moving on from social workers, we have a lot of interest in entry-level positions. So for example, what are some entry-level positions? Do these positions promote professional development? Are there promotional opportunities? And for individuals interested in working in an administrative role within social services, such as assisting clients, applying for assistance, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I can start, and I'm sure Temera can fill in the gaps. I think for the social worker series, the social worker one definitely is the starting point. Now there are some requirements around education and potentially experience, but the social worker one, for those that are going the social worker route, is definitely a good starting point because you're going to have a significant opportunity to work directly with clients. You're going to learn those engagement skills, some of those evaluation skills. And it really is a good place to kind of get your feet wet and really learn about the work that we do with children and families. For folks that are interested in other things other than social work positions, there's a significant clerical presence within DFCS at all levels and really all kind of titles. I don't think there's anything that we do here that's not supported in some way by a strong clerical team. And again, that can go from kind of the entry-level clerical up to client service technicians that really do that work directly with clients and filling out applications. I think the other thing too, because we're part of the social services kind of umbrella, you really open yourself up to 3,000 plus positions within social services that are going to go broader than just the work with children and families. The work with aging and adult and employment benefits and contracts. And so there's a whole realm, and all of those positions are really going to have an opportunity for some type of advancement into higher levels.
Great, thank you. It does sound like the department then does provide a lot of opportunities, whether somebody is maybe just thinking about getting into social services. So for example, they may not have necessarily maybe the required education or relevant experience for some of the positions, but if they're interested in social services, that there is somewhere for them that they can start.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the focus that we have right now on the social work piece is that's a large percentage of our single kind of classifications, just because the work we do with children and families has some requirements, but a lot of the positions we have also are not kind of social work related. Are really related to supporting programs and supporting operation. So definitely a lot of opportunities for people with a wide range of backgrounds.
Great, thank you. And then and this could be a question for the entire panel. So what is the best way to stand out during an interview with DFCS? A lot of people want to know that.
I know for me, I have I've been a part of a lot of interview panels for new people trying to get into DFCS as social workers. And I can say really for people who want to interview, to really highlight your skills, not just the positions that you've worked in, but the skills that you have, even if they don't directly apply, to really talk about who you are as a social worker, who you are as someone wanting to come in and support families and support, DFCS work, but really talking about your skills and how you utilize them and kind of what you want, right? What you see, what you envision is kind of moving forward in your career. I think those are really helpful. I think entry-level social work, we don't expect you to be perfect or have all the skills, right? But we want to hear that you can kind of demonstrate that you can build on the skills that you already have.
Great, thank you so much. That I'm sure will be very helpful to a lot of the viewers. Elsie, were you wanting to add on to that?
I've also sat in many panels, just like Temera. And I think that something that stands out is also hearing somebody who is passionate about the work, right? That you chose this field because there's something deep inside of you that is embedded, that is earning to come out, and that you really want to do social work, right? And that you're open to it, and that you're open to the different experiences that come with this work, and that you are passionate about working with children, youth, and families. And then that really has to stand out. If you can talk about that and describe that, and yeah, just that, I would say that's something that's really going to stand out.
Great, thank you. Oh, Daniel?
So I was just going to add in here, because this ties into, I think, the other question too, is on the executive team, the individual we have that I would consider kind of our chief of staff that really helps all that we do in the executive team doesn't have a social work background. I think they have an engineering background. But what they are able to demonstrate is that connection to the mission and that passion for our work, and kind of a desire to improve organizationally, but also to bring that to the children and families that they work with. So really, I think that's kind of at the root of what we look for.
Well, thank you so much. I think the viewers will find this very, very helpful when they are going to be interviewing. So another curiosity that the viewers do have, I've received this question a lot, is are there opportunities for extra, like weekend work, part-time work? I have a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, we are a 24/7 operation. So, we have shifts running, regular traditional kind of daytime hours, swing shift, overnight, weekend. It kind of depends on the program, but absolutely, we also do have extra help. We continually have new kind of projects in place where we really rely on extra help and individuals that can bring really that information back into our organization. So I absolutely, I think we do have a very fluid and pretty flexible schedule.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so if you have joined late, and thank you, that was so much great information. So thank you for everyone for sharing that. So for our viewers, if you have joined late, this video is being recorded, so you can go back and watch it from the beginning on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So I'd like to take, now that we've learned a lot about the department and their job opportunities, you may be wondering, how can you apply for them? Where do you go to apply? So I'll take a few moments here to go through like the HR process and timeline. So my colleague Ben will be sharing a slide on the screen again. And this is a slide that we did show earlier, and I just wanted to bring it up again. So for those of you who are just joining, you can scan the QR code, or you can copy and paste the bit.ly link into a web browser. And both of these will take you to the Social Services Agency's quick page. And on the quick page, you will find links to all the different current job opportunities the department has. And there's also a place where you can find all the job opportunities in the county, information about benefits and stuff. So in terms of some application tips, let me go back really quick here. So if for some reason you don't see maybe a job that you're interested right now, but there's something that you're eyeing something that's not there yet, I also encourage you to sign up for our job interest notifications, which you will also be able to access via the QR code and the bit.ly link. So some application tips. If you haven't already created an account, so all of our jobs you have to apply through governmentjobs.com. And if you haven't created an account and set up your profile, I highly encourage you to start that now, because it is not a 5-minute process. You will want to put a lot of thought into it, and it depends like how much work experience that you have, relevant work experience to the job that you're applying for. You will want to set aside time to fill out the application fully and completely, because your profile will act as your application. The other thing is, so we do not accept resumes in lieu of our online applications. You may attach a resume to your application, but you do need to fill out the application. And the initial time you fill it out, it will take a little longer, but once it's filled out, you can use that same application for other jobs that you apply for, and you'll only need to make necessary updates. And how do you know that you're qualified for the position and that you have the right amount of experience? When you look at the job posting, it will include information such as the job title, the salary, and importantly, the employment standards, which are also known as minimum qualifications. So make sure that you look at the employment standards by reading that section to see if you qualify for the position. And how can you avoid getting your application rejected? So in your application, it's very important to list all of your job history, education background, special projects, licenses, certifications, as HR will use the provided information to determine someone's qualifications. Also, we normally have supplemental questions on every job posting so that we can learn and possibly use the responses to differentiate applications. If you don't answer the questions fully, or only put a response of maybe see resume or see above job experience, your application will be deemed as incomplete. So it's very important. Also, if your application does happen to get rejected, you will receive an email notice, and it will give you a certain amount of days in which you can reply back and provide additional information that you believe will help you meet the employment standards and move on to the next step in the process. And so Ben will share the next slide, and here you will see the HR timeline. Now, Employee Services Agency's Human Resources Department oversees the recruitments for Social Services Agency. However, it is a collaborative effort, and Employee Services Agency handles the job posting, review of applications for employment standards, scheduling and administering of any exams, and referring the list of eligible candidates who pass the exam to the department. And the department will handle the scheduling and conducting of interviews, as well as the subsequent requirements of the recruitment process. So for example, such as background checks or any other necessary paperwork. As you can see here, this HR process timeline, this is kind of like a general overview, because it depends upon the job classification, the type of job. Sometimes this timeline will be a little bit more fluid, but we typically post our jobs for 2 weeks. And if there are jobs that are a little bit more difficult to recruit for, where we don't have candidates, sometimes we'll post them for a little bit longer. And also, depending upon how many applications we receive, will depend on how long it takes for the application review process. So the recruiter who's overseeing the recruitment actually does screen every single application that comes in. And so again, that's why it's very important to make sure that your application is as complete as possible. And sometimes with certain jobs, there will be an examination process. And how you will know is if you look on the job posting, it will tell you if there's a written exam, if it's in person or online, or maybe there's an oral exam. So the examination process also plays a part into the timing. And then once the examination process is finished, we will, HR will compile all the candidates who've passed the exam. They're placed on an eligible list, and the names are referred to the department for interviews. So when the department receives that list, it may take them maybe about a week to schedule all the interviews. Sometimes they may schedule them using an online system, or maybe they'll call or email. And then typically for interviews, maybe it might take about 3 weeks to complete interviews, give or take a little bit more or less, depending upon if the department wants to do maybe a second round of interviews, or perhaps maybe even a third round of interviews. And then once they have selected selected their candidates and want to extend an offer letter, onboarding can typically take about 3 weeks. But for some, for a social worker, I know for that one specifically, and maybe Daniel can speak to this a little bit more about the onboarding of the social workers and any kind of training or requirements.
Yeah, thank you, Lil. Specifically for our social worker 2s and social worker 3s who are going to be working directly with children and families, there's a 16-week academy, which is a combination of e-learning, classroom, and on-the-job training. This includes state required as well as our own local training curriculum. And that really prepares people to do kind of the work that's required, that's been outlined. So they're going to learn about kind of our model. They'll learn about engagement strategies, about kind of human behavior, some of the specific tools and databases that we have to use as part of our work. And then there are specific academies set each year. So for the social worker 2-3s, our next academy start date is January 30th. So that's our target date for the next academy, is to get people hired into that by January 30th. That academy will graduate May 19th. So after May 19th, that's when those social workers will actually be able to go out and work with families kind of in the traditional way. Up until that point, it's really all in training. The next academy then would be July 31st. So another academy starting July 31st, going through the middle of November. Staff that are hired in between, so when they have a little bit of time, are called pre-academy. So they can be attached to their team. They won't be able to do kind of their full case management work, full social work, because they're not fully trained, but they'll start to learn some of the process and kind of help that team with some other tasks that may not require that full training. There's, social worker 1s are another position we hired on. They don't have to go through 16 weeks of training, but they're typically going to have 40 to 50 hours of kind of specialized training, depending on the program that they're going to be going into. Everybody else is going to have kind of their own programmatic training, depending on kind of the role that they're stepping into.
Great, thank you. And that information, I know it's a lot of information, but again, if you want to scan the QR code that's right there by my head, or copy and paste the bit.ly link, that will take you to the social services agency's quick page. And that information that Daniel just described regarding the training for the social worker 2 and 3, you will find that on their quick page. So thank you very much again, Daniel, for that. And then some other questions in terms of, we can go back to some more department-specific questions, would be a psychiatric social worker. If somebody maybe would like to speak to that.
I can. So psychiatric social workers are part of our behavioral health department. So they're not with DFCS, but there are positions, and they have kind of like DFCS, a range of actual job duties within that classification. But it is through behavioral health, and you do need an MSW, and you need to work towards licensure, clinical licensure. And I believe once you step in, you have like 3 years to finish your licensing. And there's a psychiatric worker 1 and 2. So the 2s are folks that are already have their LCSW. But behavioral health also has, for if there's any MFTs out there, I believe they have some designated positions also for those who have MFTs or are working towards that licensure as well.
Great, thank you. And then, oh, I see. Oh, okay, here's another great question. Does Santa Clara County provide financial assistance or compensation for an employee who wants to continue their education, such as attaining a MSW, or et cetera? Is there someone who would like to speak to that?
Yeah, I can introduce, and definitely Temera and Elsie. There is a Title 40 program which can provide some of that. So there's an application process that people have to go through, and we can provide this information to include kind of in what information is going out. But generally, you would apply for the program, and if you're accepted in, you agree to work a certain number of years after graduation within that agency that provided where you get that stipend. So it's limited to a certain number of slots, but yeah, there is a possibility for that.
Great, thank you so much. And okay. Oh, so here's another great question that has come up, and let's see. Where did it go? Okay, maybe Daniel, maybe you can help answer this one. What types of jobs can a person with a background in public health and data analytics pursue in social services? Any data-driven projects to help the agency in policy and decision making? And do you have any career opportunities for data analyst series, such as a senior data analyst, data scientist, etc.?
Yeah, really good questions. Maybe I'll start with the last one. I think the kind of data analyst classification you're probably going to find more in like a TSS, the technology. We don't necessarily have as many. We have a few data office specialists, but we do have building a robust continuous quality improvement program, which I think for people that are interested in doing data analysis and looking at trends, definitely going to be building that out. I think within social services, there's also an Office of Research and Evaluation, which does research across the entire agency, which is also offering a lot of good opportunities. So definitely something to watch out for as we're building out this program. I can see we're going to have a future need.
Great, thank you so much. Temera, maybe you can help out with this one. What positions are currently open that pertain to unhoused families?
Sure. So I think we don't have specific positions that only focus on unhoused families, but I think all of our social work positions touch, with families and work with families that might be unhoused. So whether it's emergency response, prevention, throughout the continuum. We have many families, especially in Santa Clara County, where it's very expensive, who run into housing problems. So we do collaborate and partner with local community agencies. We partner with OSH, who really provides some of the temporary kind of emergency housing. And then we also collaborate with our local housing department. We do have one position who's kind of in the Family Support Bureau, that's a support, who actually does a lot of the connections with agencies throughout Santa Clara that do provide some level of, whether it's financial assistance or actual housing, getting on housing lists, things like that. So I think really it touches all of our positions. So it's one of those areas that social workers will develop a lot of skill around and resources around how to support families that are unhoused.
Great, thank you so much for that information.
You're on mute, Lil.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Okay, so I was saying, let's try to squeeze in a couple more questions because I see the time is starting to wind down. Let's see. Daniel, maybe you can help with this one. What opportunities are there for adults with disabilities?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't have a specific program, but I will say is as much as we can, we'll try to meet the needs of individuals applying for positions that are interested in doing this work. I would want us to be able to try to find some connection for people that have a passion. But if there are individual needs, it's something that I would want to work with employee services around to make sure that we could find a good match.
Thank you. And in wrapping up this event, what do any of you have any parting words for our viewers? For example, maybe well, whatever you can think of, maybe any advice for somebody starting out new or joining a department?
I can start. Kind of as we've been talking, I've been really thinking about, I think the county as a whole, I want people to understand there's so much opportunity. And a lot of our departments, whether it's SSA, DFCS, eligibility, we all work together in different capacities for different reasons, right? And so even as a social worker, there's social work positions in DEDS, there's social work positions in behavioral health. So it's like you can start with DSF and you can move around, not even just within DFCS, but within the county. So I just encourage people, if they feel like they have a passion for child welfare, you won't regret it. It's very rewarding. And I have some lifelong friends I've made since I've been here for 20 years. But the work is amazing and it's always changing. And I think we're really innovative and we're really trying to push our dependency system in Santa Clara forward to really do better with families. So I just encourage people to apply if they really feel like they kind of have it for our child welfare, but to know that this county offers such a variety of opportunity. And for me, I know that's a big deal. You don't have to stay in one lane and you can really experience different positions and different work.
Thank you. Elsie, would you like to have any parting words?
Just similar to what Temera said, right? It's really a positive experience to be able to come in and know that you don't just have to stay in one position after you've done social work. Let's say you come in as a 3 and you do that job, you can definitely move around without having to leave the department, right? You can move around within the department. And also, when you come in, you're going to begin making connections with other people and you're going to see what other people do, other positions that might interest you. Then when they become open, you kind of navigate through that and apply for them. And I think that's awesome that you don't have to leave to apply for what you want to do. Yeah, I definitely feel that this is a county to work for. I feel really fortunate to be here, and there's so much opportunity for growth.
Thank you, Elsie. Tanya, would you like to say any parting words?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank everybody for taking time to join us. I have never been more proud in my career than the work that we've done here locally. I think, as Temera and Elsie had pointed out, the county's in an amazing place to work. And I think specifically DFCS, just the connection that you'll feel with the community, with children and families. I think it's something that really it's hard to explain, but you'll see it when you experience it. And I think specifically for Santa Clara County, we do have a reputation of innovating. There are a number of statewide practices that really originated in this county. And I think we still see that here. You see that through the leadership of individuals like Temera and Elsie and the innovative ideas that they bring and the passion they bring. And you'll see that department-wide. So again, it can be a challenging job no matter which position you have within child welfare, just because so many things we do are so impactful in children and families. But for me, the individual reward of knowing what we're doing to give back to the community, both for DFCS as well as working for the county, is something I wouldn't give up.
Well, thank you so much to all of our guest speakers. All the information invaluable. Loved hearing about your experiences and can really hear the passion when you speak about the jobs that you're doing now, or even the jobs that you performed before, and can see why you've stayed with social services for so long and the County of Santa Clara. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to my colleagues who are working in the background to make this event happen and go smoothly. Thank you to the viewers. And I know if you did not get your questions answered, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, you can scan the QR code right on my head or use a bit.ly link and paste it into your browser, and there will be contact information. So please feel free to reach out. Maybe after this event, you may come up with some other questions, or if you go back and watch the event, you may come up with other questions. Please feel free to reach out to us. And if we don't know the answer, we will point you in the right direction to somebody who does. So we're very welcoming with our questions. And thank you so much for joining. This has been very informational. And I, again, encourage you to check out the QR code, the SSA Social Services Agency's quick page with all the information on there. And I wish everybody a great afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome.